What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at how to multiply decimal numbers by powers of 10, and hopefully we're going to learn what all of that means. So let's waste no time and let's go. So what can we remember today? Well, we can remember that we can use a place value chart to help us. So let's begin, and let's look at a very easy one, this opening question, 4 multiplied by 10. Well, what does it mean to use a place value chart to help us? Well, I can simply create a little chart next to where I'm working, and I can have my ones, my tens, and my hundreds. And obviously at the moment I have 4 multiplied by 10, so I'd put 4 in my place value chart as 4 ones. Now when I'm multiplying by 10, what I have to know about my place value chart is that each column is 10 times bigger. So therefore, if I'm multiplying by 10, all I'm going to do is shift this 4 along into the next column, and I have my answer. So my answer is 4 tens, and 4 tens can be written as 40. Now another way to get my 40 is to understand that at the moment in my ones column I have this gap, and to fill the gap I could put a placeholder, and then again turns my answer to 40. But like I say, that was an easy start. Let's go a little bit harder. Now let's look at 91.6 multiplied by 10. And as we're looking at powers, let's look at what this 10 represents. 10 could be shown as just being 10 multiplied by 1, or in other words, 10 to the power of 1. So my actual question could read 91.6 multiplied by 10 to the power of 1. But we don't often put the power of 1. We usually start with powers of 2. So again, let's put my 91.6 inside my place value chart, and I would have 9 tens, 1 1, and this time I'm going to need decimal place. So I'm going to have my tenths column and my decimal point. So my decimal point would sit down the line just like that. So 91.6 would look very much like this in my place value chart, and as I'm multiplying it by 10 to the power of 1, all I'm doing is shifting these digits one place again. So I'd have 9 in the hundreds column, 1 in the tens column, and the 6 would jump around the decimal and go into the ones column. Now if I wanted to, I could put my decimal back and my placeholder just to be sure, but my final answer either way is 916. Now we're going to turn up the heat and we're going to look at 10 to the power of 2. What does this little part mean? Now the biggest mistake that can be made at this point is if you just simply put 10 multiplied by 2 and assume that this represents 20. That would be wrong. 10 to the power of 2 means that we are having 10 multiplied by 10. I have 1 10 and I'm multiplying it by another 10. So 10 to the power of 2 means 10 times 10, and 10 times 10 is 100. So I can convert this 10 to the power of 2 into a 100. Now when I put my digits in place, it's 9.45, so I have 9 ones, 4 tenths, and I need another column for my hundredths, and I have 5 hundredths. Now I'm multiplying by 100, I have to understand that each column is worth times 10, so if this is times 10, and then 10 times another 10 would be 100. So 2 jumps is times 100. So I'm going to move my 9 1 2 places, and my 4 1 2 places, and my 5 1 2 places. And again, I could put my decimal and both placeholders in place if I wanted to, but either way, my answer is 945. Now let's look at an orange chili challenge, and let's look at 35.23 times 1,000. Well, if we're multiplying by 1,000, another way that we could write this as a power is 10 to the power of 3, because 10 times 10 times 10 equals 1,000. So this question is actually 35.23 times 10 to the power of 3. 1, 2, 3 tens. But for us, it's actually easier to look at it as 1,000. So let's put my digits in place. 35.23 multiplying by 1,000 is going to mean that I'm going 1, 2, 3 jumps. So I'm actually going to need a thousandths column and a 10,000. Running out of space a little bit here, but I'm sure we can make it work. 3 goes 1, 2, 3. My 5 goes 1, 2, 3. My 2, 1, 2, 3. And my 3, 1, 2, 3. Now in this case, I'm going to need my placeholder before the decimal, so my answer is 35,230. Now at this point, we're about halfway. Let's look at a little trick that we can use to try and help us do this quicker without our place value chart. What we should be able to see by now is when we're multiplying by 10, I'm going to be moving my digits one place. When I'm multiplying by 100, I'm moving them 2 places. Times 1,000 is 3 places, and I'm sure you can see the pattern. Well, let's see if we can see something familiar here. Well, if I move it 1 place, it's because there's 1 0 in my 10. 2 places, there's 2 zeros. 3 places, there's 1, 2, 3 zeros, and that pattern would continue. So if I'm multiplying by 1,000, I should automatically know that I'm moving 3 places, and therefore in my mind I can just move everything 3 places and understand that if my 3 is in the tens column right now, then it has to end up in the 10,000s. So I'd have 3 10,000s. The 5 is in the ones, so that would move into the thousands, so I'd have 5,000s. 2 is in the tenths, and it would end up in the hundreds. 3 is in the hundredths and would end up in the tens, and I would need something in my ones, so I put a placeholder. And we can see we get the same answer. So let's see if we can do it a bit quicker with the rest of these challenges. And 47 times 100, well, I'm going to be adding 2 zeros essentially. So 47 times 100, or in other words, 10 to the power of 2. 47, 0, 0. I'm just borrowing them from here. So my answer is 4,700. 0.6, bit harder now. 0.6 times 1,000 is going to be moving everything 3 places. So if the 6 is in the tenths column, it's going to be going 1, 2, 3 into the hundreds column. So I have 600. Put back my 2 placeholders. My answer is 600. 9.45 times 10 to the power of 2. 10 to the power of 2, we've just established, is the same as saying 100. 100 has 1, 2 zeros. 9.45, moving everything forward 2 places, is 945. Now we have our first 10 to the power of 3, but it's no harder. All it means is 10 times 10 times 10, which is 1,000. So we know this 10 to the power of 3 is 1,000. And if at the moment my 3 is in the ones column, I need to move them 1, 2, 3 places. So it's going to come 1, 2, 3 into the thousands. So I have 3 thousandths, fill everything else in. My 5 would come next. Then I have 2 gaps before my decimal, which I need to fill with placeholders. 3,500. Simple. Now it's your turn. Have a go at these 3 challenges and see if you can work out the answers to these. Put your answers in the comment section. I'm going to try and mark every single one. Press pause on the video now. Good luck. What is up everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to look at how we can divide decimal numbers by powers of 10. So let's waste no time and let's go. So what are we going to remember today? Well, we're going to remember that we can use a place value chart to help us. So let's have a look what that means with our first question, 48 divided by 10. Well, we're starting off nice and easy because 10 is simply just 10 to the power of 1. So we don't have to do any other multiplication or calculation. All we're going to use is our place value grid to help us understand how to do this division. So first let's build a place value chart, and I'm ready to begin. So my question was 48 divided by 10. So first let's put our numbers in place. 48 is 4 tens and 8 ones. And if I'm dividing by 10, what I have to realize is that every column on my place value chart is 10 times smaller than the column in front of it. So essentially we are dividing by 10 as we come down the place value chart. So if we think about it, one jump would be dividing by 10, but if we made 2 jumps, I'd be dividing by 100. 3 jumps dividing by 1,000, and so on and so on, but we'll get to that in a moment. For now, we realize that we're only dividing by 10, which means we're going to be jumping 1 column down my place value chart. So let's begin. and my 8 will come into my tenths column, and my 4 into the ones column. Put back my decimal, and I'm left with 4.8. One thing to make a note of, my decimal place never moves. We consider it like a nail in the wall. So 48 divided by 10 equals 4.8. Next one, 91.6 divided by 10, a little bit harder. Let's have a look. We have 91.6 divided by 10. Put the numbers in place, 9 tens, 1 1, a decimal, and then 6 tenths. And we're dividing by 10, so exactly the same thing. I just moved them to one place down my place value chart. And once I put my decimal point back, I'm left with 9.16. Now we're starting to get a little bit harder because I have 9.45 divided by 10 to the power of 2. So what does that mean? Well, a very common mistake would be to do 10 times 2, which is 20, and assume that this 10 to the power of 2 is 20. That would be wrong. 10 to the power of 2 means that we have 10 multiplied by 10, or in other words, 2 tens multiplied together. So if we think about it, if it was 10 to the power of 3, I would have 3 tens multiplied together, and 10 to the power of 4, 4 tens, etc., etc. So 10 to the power of 2 is 10 times 10, which equals 100. So my question is actually 9.45 divided by 100. So first job again, let's just put our numbers in place. 9.45 is 9 ones, decimal 4 tenths, 5 100ths. And because I'm dividing now by 100, it means that I'm going not just one jump, that would be divided by 10, but 2 jumps. So I'm dividing by 100. So if we're jumping twice, I'm going to need another column here as my 10,000. And here we go. Let's start moving numbers. My 5 100ths become 5 1,000ths. My 4 tenths become 4 thousandths. My 9 ones become 900ths. And now you can see if I put my decimal, I have this gap again, which I need to fill with a placeholder. So my answer would become 0.0945 or 0.0945. Okay, let's look at an orange chili now, and I have 352.3 divided by 1,000. And my 1,000 could also be written as 10 to the power of 3. Because remember, 10 to the power of 3 means 10 times 10, which is 100, times another 10, which equals 1,000. But actually for us, 1,000 is easier to use, so we'll keep it as 1,000. And now because I'm dividing by 1,000, I'm going to need to move 1, 2, 3 places, because that would be divided by 1,000. And again, it all kind of links in, doesn't it? Because 10 to the power of 3 equals 1,000. So therefore, if we're dividing by 10 to the power of 3, I'm dividing by 3 of these columns because each column is worth a power of 10. Okay, so let's put our numbers in place. 352.3, and I'm dividing now by 1,000, so I need to move them 3 places. So my 3 would come 1, 2, 3. My 2 is 1, 2, 3. My 5 is 1, 2, 3. My 3 is 1, 2, 3. Put back my decimal. Put a placeholder there in front of it if I want to leave me with 0.3523, or I could get rid of that 0 and just call it 0.3523. Okay, let's look for a pattern now as we get into these final 4 questions. Hopefully what we're seeing now is that if my question is dividing by 10 to the power of 1, I'm moving my digits 1 place. If my question is 10 to the power of 2, I'm moving them 2 places because that's like saying divided by 100. If it's 10 to the power of 3, or in other words, divided by 1,000, I'm moving them 3 places. So using that knowledge, let's see if we can answer these last 4 without using the place value chart and just using knowledge in our heads. So 47 divided by 100 would be 47 moved 2 places. So my 4 would go from being in the tens column to being in the tenths column. So I would have 0.47 as my answer. Next orange chili challenge, 873 divided by 1,000, or in other words, 10 to the power of 3. So I know I'm going to be moving them 3 columns. So if my 8 is in the hundreds column, 3 columns to the right would be the tenths column. So I'm going to have 0.873. as my answer. 10 to the power of 2 means I'm going to be moving 2 places, and the 1 in my tens column will therefore be in my tenths column. So again, 0.1945 would be my answer. And finally, the last challenge, 10 to the power of 3, we know means I'm moving 3 places. So if my 3 is at the moment in my ones column, 3 places down my place value chart is in the thousandths column. So I can put my 3 in the thousandths, my 5 in the 10,000ths, but then I'm going to need a placeholder in my hundredths and a placeholder in my tenths, put back my decimal, put a 0 in front of it if I want, and my answer is 0.0035. These challenges here might be a little stretch for you at the moment, but once we fully understand our place value chart and how it works and the column titles, you should be able to do questions like that in your head. But I recommend always checking on the place value chart. Here you go then, it's your turn. Here are 3 questions for you to work out. Use the place value chart if you want, or have a go at answering these in your head. Press pause on the video now, good luck. And there you have it, that is how to divide decimal numbers by powers of 10. Hopefully this video was helpful for you. If it was, head on over to themathshelter.com where you're going to find loads more of my videos to help you with everything you need to know about your year group's maths. But for now guys, I'm going to see you in another video. Peace out.